It's really important to me. Chubster's never going to be anything where we're talking about how many pounds you've lost or shedding weight or positioning weight loss as this thing, because again, that's something that's been beaten into our heads over and over all of our lives. So what I do believe in is body autonomy. I want people to do whatever they want to do.
Well, yeah, just want to take a second and say thank you for joining. Been a really cool thing to see your brand, and to kind of get us started. You want to tell us who you are, what Chubstr does, and just more about you?
Sure. My name is Bruce Sturgell, and I am the founder of Chubstr, which is a fashion and lifestyle site for big and tall guys. Basically, we help bigger guys find clothes, accessories. We give them style tips. We help them find products for the home. Lots of things that bigger guys need that they don't always get in mainstream media, or they don't find from other kinds of blogs and resources out there. There was a real lack of that kind of information out there. And I've been doing this for about 15 years. And I started out of frustration, not being able to find clothes in my size. I was working in marketing at the time, and I was on a business trip, and I was in Washington, D.C. It was my first time there. I did the work and the meetings and all that, and then I wanted to go out and see the landmarks. And somebody had taken a picture of me standing at the fence where you could see the White House in the back. The touristy thing you got to do. I saw that picture later, and it was not great. The clothes that I was wearing, they didn't fit me well. I didn't feel good, and I was really frustrated by that experience. And so I basically did what a lot of people do and went to the internet to complain about the problems that I was having finding clothes in my size. I lived in the Midwest at the time in a small town. If you were a bigger guy, you had a couple options. One, you could go to the mall. You'd walk in, go into a store, they'd see you and be kind of like, here we go again. And you'd leave empty handed. I was right there at that line where sometimes I could find things, but most of the time I couldn't. The other option was to go to the big and tall store, but they were really catering to someone who was like my dad's age, a much older guy. The models in their imagery looked like ex-football players. They didn't look like me. They didn't have the styles I was looking for, the clothes. So I started, this was 2010, 2011. So back in the day, and it was really just me kind of writing about my experiences, calling out brands that offered extended sizes, but didn't make it easy for you to find them on their website or in store, and sharing resources that I was finding. And what happened pretty quickly is that people started to respond to what I was writing. They were asking for advice. They were sharing resources that I was putting out there. They were writing in saying, I'm looking for, I've got a job interview. I need clothes for that interview. What should I wear? I'm getting married in April. I don't know where to look for a tux. And I realized pretty quickly that as opposed to just complaining on the internet, there was something that I could do that would be beneficial here. And so I created a brand around it. And in March of 2011, Chubstr launched with a mission to help bigger guys find, create, and share their style. The site grew pretty quickly. We offer a lot of tips, resources. We interview bigger people who are out there living their best lives, because there's kind of this preconceived notion that if you are a bigger person, you're not living your best life. You're at home, you're not around people, you don't have great experiences, all of these things. And I wanted to push back against that in a way that was kind of subversive, writing about it, showing examples of people doing these things. So we've interviewed everyone from ACLU lawyers to Shaquille O'Neal to plus size surfers. It's really been this thing where it started out creating resources and information, and it moved into also entertainment, travel, food and drink, all of these things, because you don't spend your life thinking about what you're wearing or finding clothes. It's a small piece of that, and there's so much more. So it's kind of like a bigger guy's version of GQ in that way. And it got picked up by the New York Times and some other media outlets, and it kind of blew up from there. And over the years, it's been interesting to see it grow and to offer something to a community that is kind of underserved. So that's Chubstr in a nutshell. We've got the
Yeah, I used to have a roommate. He was 6'6", like a huge guy, and so that kind of opened up my eyes to like, hey, bigger people, this is a problem, definitely. And he was actually a subscriber of yours, because before we were doing this interview, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, know anything about, Chubstr and all that? He's like, oh yeah, do you remember when I bought my computer chair? And so you had written an article because he was shopping for a computer chair at the time, and that actually influenced him.
there's so much more to it than just being able to find clothes. So I know that I wanted to see people who looked like me wearing the clothes, using the products so that I could get a better feel for that. And so we started doing photo shoots. Early on, it was just me, doing the shoots, cheap models. So it all worked out. We started doing partnerships with bigger companies and, bringing in different models and working with these brands to help them get the word out about what they had to offer.
Yeah, that's totally amazing. To kind of bring it back into the GLP-1 space a little bit, in this industry, it isn't just about the weight. Like you said, like there are so many other aspects about your lifestyle that this touches, mattresses, and even in my experience, like a computer chair, like how big of a deal that is to people, to find something that works for them and get eyes on the topic too. And I think that's one thing that you've done a fantastic job, with. It's just like bringing awareness to these other little niches in, people's lives that may get overlooked. So,
It's been really important to do that. And, one of the things that we have stayed away from is weight loss and diet
mhm,
culture. It's been really important that that has not been a big piece of this puzzle. Like we've never talked about it. It's never been something on the site uh, because there are so many places that you can go for that information.
sure.
As a 45-year-old who is a bigger guy, I've seen a lot of things come and go, a lot of fads, a lot of diets, a lot of things that were negative, that really pushed ideas out there that were the total opposite of what Chubstr is about and what really makes sense. You can go to a lot of other places for those kinds of resources. And I really have always wanted Chubstr to be a place that people could go and be appreciated for who they are now without them having to change. So that's always what it's been.
Yeah, absolutely. In your article, you go over, a lot of that about, promoting diets and weight loss is just not necessarily what you're going for. But as a person who has used GLP-1s, like what is your opinion on the industry as a whole?
Sure. Yeah. So, GLP-1s have obviously gotten very popular over the last few years. And when I first heard about them, I was kind of like anything else where it wasn't something that we paid attention to. As time has gone on, we've started to get questions from readers who are like, I've been using this. I've lost a lot of weight. My clothes don't fit me anymore. How do I find new clothes? Or they're reaching out with body image questions. When your body
Hmm.
changes, whether it gets bigger or smaller, it's something that that you're going to think about and you have to process that. We get questions about that, and I was really seeing this become something that was kind of prevalent everywhere. I was seeing people, influencers out there that are plus size influencers that are taking GLP-1s.
Hmm.
I was really seeing it mostly in a way where it was kind of like, I've taken this thing and it's been amazing. When you're in this business, you definitely see across the board companies will reach out with their new clothing brands for bigger people, and that's what they want, is for you to be out there going, hey, these clothes are great, try them
Sure.
on. Now, that's not always the reality. Sometimes these brands are making a big and tall line without bigger bodies in mind, without
Hmm.
using those bigger bodies to measure them, to put the stuff together and to make sure that it fits. They're not thinking about the models, they're not doing all of these things. And so it felt really one-sided to me as far as, what we were seeing with people who were taking who were using GLP-1s and, not really getting that deep into it. And so the opportunity came up for me to try it out, and it felt like it made sense because I didn't feel equipped to answer a lot of the questions that were
Sure.
coming in. I couldn't speak to this because I hadn't tried it. And so it felt like trying it to see what it was like was an opportunity that made sense, because then I could write about it and talk about every side of it. What happens? How do you feel? What changes do you see? How does it affect your, overall outlook on your body? And, it's really important to me. Chubster's never going to be anything where we're talking about how many pounds you've lost or shedding weight or positioning weight loss as this thing, because again, that's something that's been beaten into our heads over and over all of our lives. So, what I do believe in is body autonomy. I want people to do whatever they want to do if they understand and they have the information and understand how things work. So, if they want to take these things, I want them to be able to do it. If they don't and they're happy with themselves, that's great. So, at the end of the day, you have to live in the body that you're in, and it only makes sense that you're happy in that body, however that is.
Hmm.
So, I wanted to do basically a 6-month test and see what happened and what it was like. And it was something that my wife and I, who also tried it with me, partially because as a guy, I'm not always great at explaining my feelings and the things that I'm experiencing. My wife knows me very, very well. We've been together almost 20 years, and she's able to translate whatever I'm stumbling through into something
Right.
that makes sense.
Right. And to go back a little bit, I really liked what you said about in this industry. And I'm sure you have people in your audience who have gone through a GLP-1 journey. They've lost some weight. I had a conversation with someone last week about, hey, none of my clothes actually fit. I don't know what to do now. I don't know how to live this life, or it's a little bit more difficult or challenging because I've not lived like this in a very long time. And so having to go out and shop for new clothes and figure out some of these other challenges about like actually losing that weight. And so many people are all about just losing the weight, but they don't focus on the story like afterwards. So that's a really cool thing that you said.
Yeah, thanks. I think there's a lot around that. We're marketed to across the board. There's so many different things where buy this thing and you'll be happier. Like that's the
Hmm.
idea of, commerce. And I get that. And I think that especially when it comes to something like this, where you're making a potentially making a real change in your life to your body, it's important to know the other details around it.
Hmm.
Yeah, after I had done it for a while, I definitely started to notice that nothing I had in my closet fit me well. That definitely affected how I felt. My
Sure.
my sense of style and my confidence in how I look uh definitely took a ding. That's something where if you're not prepared for that, then it can creep up on you. And then you're like, oh, so I have to spend a whole lot of money to get new clothes
Yeah.
that actually fit and figure that out. And your body can start to look different. Like I said this in the article that I'm a big guy. I still a big guy after the 6-month test. I was able to see a difference. I don't know that a lot of other people, like people I would see for meetings or on the street,
Mm.
wouldn't necessarily notice. I noticed it. They may very well have noticed when I came in with like floppy clothes on that didn't fit me,
Sure.
but it's just one of those things where I think being able to walk through the process was really important. And there was a lot of good, and there were some things that were unexpected. There were some things that I would do differently, knowing what I know now. I think it has been really eye opening in some interesting ways.
Yeah, and based on your journey, one big question that I had was, you said it's not about the numbers, it's not about just losing weight. So what are some of the most meaningful non-scale victories that you've experienced this past 6 months that don't really have anything to do with just the weight that you've lost?
Sure. I'll preface this by saying that I went into this with no goals. I wasn't actively trying to lose weight. I wasn't actively trying to hit a health goal. I literally just wanted to see what would happen based on what I had heard
Mm-hmm.
about how GLP-1s work. And I felt like it would allow me to be more informed, to answer questions, to think about how these things fit into the world and how we can talk about them with Chubstr readers who are using them. And so the biggest thing for me was the clearing of food noise. I've definitely heard the term food noise before, and I never understood it. And I thought it was a made up thing. And uh, it turned it off. It was a thing that I didn't know was a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it turned it off, and it made it to where I wasn't focused on what my next meal was going to be or where we were going to eat or what we were going to make. It was definitely some course correction there. I went from being really focused on food in a way that I honestly didn't realize before to having to understand my body in a different way and being like, why don't I feel so? Oh, it's because I didn't eat. I need to eat. And so understanding your body in a
Sure.
different way. I think the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway and the biggest benefit of all of this for me was when that food noise was gone, I was able to see what my relationship with food is like. Not even the way that I eat in like portions, but how I think about food when I'm sitting down to have dinner, or how I feel like I need food in a way that maybe I don't need it, or how it's been built up in me for my entire
Mm-hmm.
life since I was a kid. I was able to look at these things in a way that I don't feel like I was objectively able to in the past, and that is really interesting to me to just see that when that noise is gone, it didn't like clear cravings. It didn't make me not like any food. Still had cravings, still
Food is
wanted,
still good.
totally, totally,
Right.
absolutely. It's just like it kind of made me think about the way that food has been like this safety blanket for me mentally in a way that actually has nothing to do with food, with
Mm-hmm.
what I'm eating or how much I'm eating. But it was something that was there for me maybe when other things in my life weren't from a very young age.
Sure.
And when that starts and you grow in that way, that can stay with you. And I haven't always been very self reflective. I've tried to understand it in some ways, but going through this experience, when it paused all of that noise and I was able to look at it, it let me see it in a different way. Um, I don't know what that means long term. I do
Mm-hmm.
know that it makes me more aware of the choices I make or the way that I eat. I'm never going to be counting calories. I'm never going to be doing the portion control thing. I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I don't. And uh, I think that it lets me see that in a different way. Taking the GLP-1, I definitely was, I would make plates that were the same size as I was making before. I couldn't finish the stuff. I would be full quicker, and I could see how if you were going to stay on this long term, you would really have to make a change, kind of strategically how you thought about how much you were going to eat or what you were going to eat, or make sure that you know that if you're going to keep making plates that are that big, you're going to have a lot of leftovers,
Sure.
dealing with those kind of things. And that was interesting to me. I didn't expect that. I honestly had no expectations going into it. And yeah, I mean, it was surprising in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think also today in our culture, food is something that we wake up thinking about and we go to bed, thinking about. And a lot of our time is, and even marketing too. Like, you look at how much is marketed towards people's need for food. When you're on a GLP-1 and you kind of eliminate that food noise, that stuff, like you're almost blinded to it in a way. And so it changes your relationship of how you look at food just in general, um, which I think is good. And you talk about, oh, at the end of the day it's all about making sure that you feel good, in your body, and like saying, oh, why do I feel this way? Oh, I need more protein. I need more fiber, I need more water, as opposed to just eating, just to eat.
It made me more aware of food that I wanted. It made me
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it in a different way. Thinking about what I was going to eat in a way that I didn't before was really interesting. Enjoying what I'm eating in a way that I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not the experience for every bigger
Sure.
person. There are a lot of people who are very, uh, they're already way past where I'm at, based on this. But for me, I would have cravings for things and I would appreciate that more. I found that there was more delight in eating and having that experience.
Very cool. Next question I have: how has your relationship with your body shifted at all since starting GLP-1?
My body changed a little bit. So the clothes issue was definitely a thing that I had to work through because I have definitely, I take a lot of pride in my style and in the clothes that I wear and being able to find those things. Finding that everything that I had in my closet didn't fit me anymore was really tricky. As far as my body goes, I could definitely see the difference in how I felt and how I looked and how I felt in my body. It was interesting. I felt like I had lost some weight and I felt pretty much like myself. I just looked a little different.
Mm-hmm.
My skin was a little different. My arms and my legs. And I think that if I were to continue on something like this, that working out probably would have been something that I would have started doing. And I know that that's something that's recommended, to kind of push back against muscle loss and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And it was just something that I didn't think much about initially that I would have tried. I think that I would have felt a little more confident in hitting a gym or getting out and exercising on a regular basis. Yeah. I love riding my bike. I'll get out there and I live in Portland, Oregon, lots of hills, lots of bike friendly, place to ride. And so it's fun to get out and do that. And I've always done that. And I think that I probably would have amped that up more and worked out a little more in some different ways just to see what that did with my body. I think the really interesting thing with the changes to my body is that I've been a bigger guy for a long time. I will continue to be a bigger guy for all of my life, I'm sure. But seeing my body change in different ways is interesting to me. And this is a way that my body has not changed since I was very young. So, um, that part of it is personally interesting to me. And I feel like I could really see like working out more is something that kind of came from this that I think I'll probably start doing in ways that I didn't do before, whether I continue on any kind of medication or not. It almost feels like something I discovered that uh, I can be included in that I didn't feel like I could be before. A lot of people over the years through Chubstr, we've gotten a lot of messages from people who are bigger who go to a gym and they would have a bad experience because they didn't feel like they fit in, some kind of negative comment or something. And I had definitely had those kind of things, years ago. And so that was something that kind of pushed me away from being interested in that. And I think now, um, I'm more open to the idea of revisiting it. I think that it's a different world in some ways, and I think that there are places that are more body positive
Mm-hmm.
for workout spaces, things like that. And so I'm interested in exploring some of those things, and I think that this has really gotten me thinking about that in a way that I didn't before.
Yeah, interesting. A lot of people talk about those physical benefits, right? But it almost sounds like your desire, to pursue some more like more active lifestyle, whether working out or biking or whatever, is almost like a mindset change. Have you experienced any other non-physical benefits like that from mood, energy, mindset?
In general, I've kind of over the last few years, we went through the pandemic and kind of
Hmm.
coming out of that, it was a real shift. I lost some family members and kind of had been in kind of a pretty rough place for a while. And over the last year, had kind of started coming out of that. And I uh, had undiagnosed ADHD, which was also something that I had to get a grip on. And that made a huge difference. Having a medication for that allowed me to focus in a way that I
Hmm.
hadn't before. On top of this, for 6 months, I did feel like I was focused in a way that I hadn't been in a long time, and that I was able to um, get things done that would take me longer than maybe they had in the past. I think my energy level is higher just in general. I think coming out of depression and trying to kind of focus on myself and get into a better mindset has definitely helped. And I do think that taking this and doing this test, it has contributed to making me feel better. I think all of these things together. I don't think that there's just one thing, and I think that that is one of the things that we fall into, is that you can focus on one thing
And
to the
have a major
detriment of
lifestyle,
other
right?
things. Right?
Hmm.
It's an overall lifestyle change that isn't just one thing. And so for me, it's been being more aware of my body, my mind, where I'm at, what I need, what I want, all of that together, and understanding those things better, and paying more attention to what's going on in my head, I think has made a real big difference. The biggest shift has definitely been mentally, and being able to kind of take a step back, look at everything and understand these things. And again, like I said, it's like I really thought that it would be more food focused as far as what I
Hmm.
was realizing, and it isn't. It is these deeper seated things that have always kind of been there in my life that I've been able to look at, that I feel like this gave me a way to look at that I didn't even know existed before, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It does kind of shine a light on some of those areas, especially post, pandemic too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you and your wife both started this journey. What has it meant to go through this process together?
It's been nice to have somebody to bounce thoughts and ideas off of, to talk about how we're both feeling, what what's happening, the good and the bad, kind of where we're at. And it's interesting to see the differences for her as compared to for me. Uh, it's good to have somebody that you can talk to as you go through a process like this and try something. And she was interested in trying it as well, as I kind of talked to her about it. And I think that was really important because, again, like I said, it's having somebody who can kind of help me process those feelings and understand myself a little more, as somebody who's kind of outside of it, who can look at it and say, okay, well, here's, you're saying this, here's what I think that means,
Yeah,
has been really interesting. I know that for her, the experience has been a little different, but I think it's going through that together, and having somebody that you can rely on, that you can talk to, and kind of process things has been really important.
super cool. Super cool. What's one thing that you wish people understood about the GLP-1, therapy in general, especially for those in the plus size community?
I think the big thing would be that it's like just about anything in life. There's not one thing that's going to cure everything and make you have a perfect, wonderful, shiny life. It's it takes work, and it takes self-reflection and understanding yourself, what your goals are, what you want, what you need. If you've never done anything like this, if you've never taken a GLP-1, then you might not understand the food noise aspect of it. I really didn't, and I mean, I had certainly, when I was much younger, I had, tried all the things that people try, diet pills, so on and so forth, different, different kinds of, exercise regimens, all that stuff. And it never affected me in the way that this did by taking that away. It's like that, having those moments of self reflection and being able to understand um, the why of things is really interesting to me. And I think that's something that people might not expect. The appetite suppressant side of things is really interesting as well. I definitely would say it's important to be aware of what you're eating, because certain things may not react well with you. And I learned that with beef jerky in a way that
Interesting. Yeah.
that was some next level stuff. My family was like, "We're done with you. You're out." I'm just gonna say sulfur burps, and we'll leave it at that. So you just have to be aware that sometimes there are things that you will run into. If you listen to your body and you understand, it's going to tell you what it likes and what it doesn't, and you can kind of go from there and figure out what works for you.
Very cool. And on that kind of note, which you've touched on in several different areas, but body positivity is a major part of Chubstr. So how do you balance body acceptance while also pursuing, new health goals?
I think that there is this idea that you can't be a plus size person and you can't be fat and active. You can't be happy at whatever weight you are. And I think that one of the things that Chubster has done a good job of is shining a light on people who are out there, who happen to be bigger, who are doing all of those things, whether it's a plus size cyclist who's getting out there. There's someone who started All Bodies on Bikes, and she gets out there and she does marathons and rides. And there are plus size people who are surf instructors. There's weightlifters. There's people who do yoga. There are all these people that are doing these things that are still bigger, and that's not going to change.
Hmm.
They're able to do these things at a high level. Uh, and I think that there is an idea that that's not the case. And so really for me with Chubster, it's about showcasing those people and putting a spotlight on them. And I think as far as goals go, being more active for activity's sake, to do things that you're happy with, whether it's hiking or riding a bike or surfing or whatever it is you want to do, I want people to know that they can do those things regardless of their size. They can get out there and do that, and there are communities for them. So that's how I kind of balance it. It's never for me going to be about a number on a scale, and
Right.
it's never going to be about losing a certain amount of weight or anything like that. I want to have experiences. I want to get out there and do things that I've never done before. And I think that is how I look at it. That's my overall philosophy on all of this, and I think that in some interesting ways, doing this 6-month experiment has really shown me that I can do that in ways that I didn't think about before.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. If someone in the Chubster community is curious about GLP-1 medications, but unsure where to start, what would you tell them? Were you nervous going into them? Were you excited? What was kind of your process starting? And then how would you um, explain that to the Chubster
Sure.
community? Mhm.
I was nervous about side effects. I was nervous about what that was going to be like. I didn't necessarily love the idea of giving myself a shot. I will say that the needle is very small. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Having gotten used to that. My wife, she's like, she doesn't care. It's like nothing. I mean, she just boom, she's done. I would say do your research, understand what it means to take something like this. I hope that the article that I've written will give a good primer into at least my experience, how I went into it. And, to be clear, I didn't go into this uh, looking to lose weight. I didn't go
Mhm.
into this with any kind of specific health goal or anything like that. I really just wanted to see what this was like from that perspective so that I could speak to it. And it's important to think about why you would want to take it. What's your goal? What does it mean to you? And what is going to happen if you take it long term? If you drop a few sizes, you're going to have to replace your wardrobe. Your body's going to look different. How do you reckon with that? Because that
Mhm.
is a different thing that you might not be prepared for. If you have side effects, how do you deal with those? There are specific things, like I would say drink a lot of water, drink more water than you thought you should drink. Water is the most important thing. I mean, man, I can't stress that enough. It's like Like, we know that, but we don't know that. And so when
Right.
you're yeah, when you're taking these things, that's when it really becomes apparent. And so I'm trying to hydrate myself like nobody's business. I learned the hard way. So it's, do it, drink water. I think just in general, it's like have a firm grip on the reasons that you want to take a GLP-1 and understand that no matter what you do, there is no like magic wand that's going to change your life and get you
Hmm.
where you need to be. And it's really being thoughtful about everything around what's your reason for wanting to do this. What are you trying to accomplish? It is about having that goal, and I can absolutely see that. And I think that were I to continue on something like this, uh, I would have specific, I would have specific goals, and I'd be thinking about things that not related to weight loss or whatever, but related to activity and where I would want to be there, and really related to controlling that food noise in a way that I just didn't understand before. I think that even if moving forward, I go back to status quo where I'm not taking anything, now that I know that, I can't unknow that.
Hmm.
So that's a big change and a big difference for me in a way that I didn't expect. So yeah, it's really doing that research, talk to people who are taking GLP-1s and get a feel for what's it like for them, why are they doing it, what have they seen. Reach out to Chubstr. It will give you advice, talk to you about it. It's not something that we're not going to be like hitting. We'll never hit weight loss on the site. It's never going to be a thing where that's the thing that the site's about. Um, this conversation, this article may very well be the biggest push into that ever happens. I mean, in 15 years, this is the first time that it's ever been a discussion. I do think that it's something that is more prevalent in the world. I think that there might be an idea that uh, taking this medication will, like I said, solve those problems or make you suddenly thin. And it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of other things you've got to think about around that, and you've got to think about why you want to be a certain size. Is it a medical thing? Is it you know, what is it? And understand that and go from there. I think understanding that you are absolutely valued at whatever size you are is important, and you make the best decision for yourself.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. And even for us at Goby, one big thing is your health journey. Everybody's health journey is unique and different. And no matter where you're at on that path, whether you're an Olympic bodybuilder or someone who's just wanting to change their lifestyle a little bit, trying to focus on that. And something that you had just mentioned was like your goals and your process. The last question around this, what does progress look like for you today, and how is it different from how you might have defined that in the past? Just in terms of like losing weight, the things that you can't unknow now, like how has that shaped, what you would consider progress or those goals?
I think for me, the big goal out of all of this, and the big thing that has really come, like I said, the food noise going away has really made me just kind of more aware. It kind of brought my love of food back in a way that I didn't expect. I think for me, moving forward, my positive goal would really be being more active and being willing to get out there and try more of the things that I may not have been so open to trying in the past. I feel um, I've always felt pretty comfortable in my skin, and I think going down a few sizes and having the clothes issue and figuring that out, it has been a challenge, but I do feel like overall just finding that I want to be more active than I was in the past is probably the big takeaway, and it's the big thing that I think I'll move forward with and that I will try. I'm actually excited to work out a little more and to try and put together a little more of a regimen for me that my goals are. I'm interested in trying to run or jog a 5K. My wife did it she's able to kind of just jump into a thing, go into that mode and just do the thing. And she'll get out there and she'll do that. That's not something that I've done, and that's interesting to me. I'd like to do a race on my bike. There are these other things that I want to get out there and do that I do to a smaller extent. Like, I'll get on my bike and I'll go and I'll do a 30-mile bike ride or whatever and really enjoy that. I've never done a race. I've
Hmm.
never tried anything like that, but I'm interested in seeing what that's like and actually getting in and doing that in my life with everything coming together. And I think all of these different things really contribute to that. I want to get out there and try and do some of those things. And, I feel like that's probably my next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not the only person, who has said that. Like shining a little bit of light over into this area and giving a little motivation and a little push can make a huge difference. In just getting out there and trying something. So that's really cool to hear.
It has been an interesting experience. I'm glad that I did it because I really wanted to have that understanding. And I feel like I can talk to people about my experience now and really kind of get that across in a way that I wouldn't have been able to before.
Mhm. And I guess finally, um, what's been your experience with GobyMeds? Just in the ordering process. Um,
I found it to be really quick and easy. I mean, the process was good. I went through and kind of got all my personal information through the process. Uh, got signed up and was able to kind of lay out all the stats that I needed to lay out, and got my medication. When I started, it was a little lower than where it needed to be, and so we were able to adjust that, which was good because initially when I started doing this, um, it was with a different company that didn't the experience didn't work out and it wasn't great. And so I had this break of time between starting with Goby where I wasn't on anything for about 3 weeks. So when we started again, it was okay, we're going to start smaller and work our way up or whatever. And so when I started, I didn't notice any difference. And I had kind of, with those 3 weeks off, started to get back to where I had been before. We were able to make that change. I consulted with someone through Goby, and they were like, "Well, try this instead." And so it upped my dose. And when I did that, I definitely noticed that I was where I needed to be. And so the experience has been great. The everything that showed up was good. It's been very easy to use, and the website is cool. It shows you a lot of information. You can kind of go in there and get what you need, and if you need to talk to somebody, you can do that. So the whole thing has been very streamlined and very simple, which I really appreciate.
awesome. That's our goal to make things as easy as possible.
Nice.
So very cool. Well, yeah, that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything else that you want to say just about GLP-1s as a topic or Goby or Chubstr?
I don't Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Check out chubstr.com. We're always putting out guides, resources to help bigger people find clothes in their size, products. We're talking about entertainment, lifestyle, bigger celebrities, all that kind of stuff. And, it runs the spectrum from everything from clothing and shopping to body image, advocacy, exercise, lifestyle stuff, all of that. It's kind of a place for people who don't always get that kind of attention.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Bruce, and appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.